Classical Arabic poetry continues to captivate readers because it touches on the most universal human emotions: love, longing, loss, and our search for meaning. Even though they lived in a different time, the voices of these ancient poets feel incredibly intimate. Their verses pulse with an emotional honesty and spiritual fire that cuts across time, culture, and language. When they mention wine, they mean spiritual ecstasy, not physical intoxication. Several iconic figures shaped this tradition of divine love. Although he wrote in Persian, Jalal al-Din Rumi had a massive influence on Arabic Sufi thought through translations of his work. His poetry is centered on the soul's painful separation from the divine and its desperate desire to return home. Then there's Ibn Arabi, one of the greatest Arab mystic philosophers. He saw divine love as the very force that holds the universe together. For him, love wasn't just an emotion, it was the fundamental architecture of all existence. And we can't forget Rabia al-Adawiyya, one of the earliest female Sufi saints. She completely revolutionized the concept of divine love. She famously rejected the idea of loving God out of fear of hell or desire for heaven. Instead, she declared that she loved God for God alone. It teaches that pain isn't a punishment, but a process of purification, and that longing itself is a sacred gift. Through this divine passion, a person moves from their ego to their essence, from fear to freedom, and from their small self to the boundless reality of God. The echoes of this poetry are all around us today. The legacy of classical mystical poetry is alive in modern music, spoken word performances, and even in contemporary therapy practices that use mindfulness and spiritual self-awareness. You'll hear Sufi poetry quoted in self-development seminars, philosophy lectures, and intercultural dialogues all over the world. In our modern age, which is so often marked by anxiety, isolation, and a focus on material things, these poems offer something incredibly rare, a vision of love that asks for nothing in return and gives everything. Even for secular readers, there is immense comfort in their raw honesty about pain and longing. They show us that spirituality can exist outside of rigid religious structures. These ancient verses quietly pose a question to every one of us. What do you truly long for? What do you love beyond your own self-interest? What would it mean to love without fear? In this way, classical poetry becomes a mirror for the modern heart, reflecting our deepest desires and questions back at us. The journey through classical Arabic poetry reveals that divine love isn't just a historical concept. These poets took human suffering and transformed it into spiritual beauty. For those of you who want to explore this world further, I highly recommend checking out translations of Rumi's Masnavi, Ibn Arabi's The Interpreter of Desires, and collections of Rabi al-Adawiyah's prayers and sayings. We'll close with a poetic whisper that has echoed across the centuries. I was raw, I burned, I became light. In loving you, I vanished into sight. And so, the river of divine love flows on, unchanged, unending, inviting every soul to take a drink. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the heart of poetry and spirituality.